I should have killed him the moment I had the chance. Everyone told me to. My commanding officer, my crewmates, even the ship's AI. They said humans were unpredictable, dangerous, a species that couldn't be trusted. And yet, I didn't. I let him live. And now, as I sit here orbiting the smoldering remains of what used to be an entire planet, I can't stop asking myself one thing. Was I wrong for saving a human? Would you have done the same if you were in my place? When I first met him, I didn't even know what a human was. I'm Zethar, a reconnaissance officer of the Kalthian Empire, born and bred to follow orders without question. My species prides itself on logic, order, and efficiency. We don't act on emotion. That's something only primitive species do. At least that's what I believed before I met him. His name was Aaron Cole, and he was the first of his kind I'd ever seen alive. When we found his distress pod drifting near the ruins of the Sol system, I thought he was already dead. Earth had been gone for centuries, wiped out during the expansion wars, but there he was, bruised, burned, and somehow still breathing, surrounded by the remains of a ship that shouldn't have existed in our era. My first instinct was to report him and have him extracted for dissection, standard procedure for an unregistered biological. But when I looked at him through the containment glass, his eyes opened. And he didn't look afraid. He looked angry. That was the first time I'd ever seen defiance from something so broken. We brought him aboard the Tarkesh, our scout vessel, and placed him under quarantine. The crew whispered constantly about him. Some thought he was a ghost, others a weapon left behind by ancient Terran militaries. But I saw something else. Curiosity, perhaps, or maybe pity. His physiology was primitive. Inefficient circulatory system, no exoskeletal armor, fragile bones. Yet somehow, he'd survived conditions that would have killed any Kalthian twice over. When I finally got authorization to question him, he just stared at me with those piercing blue eyes and said, "You're not going to kill me, are you?" I remember hesitating before answering. "That depends on why you're here." He laughed, a low, bitter sound that didn't match his broken body.
Same reason anyone's anywhere.
Bad luck and bad timing. I didn't know what to make of that. Over the next few cycles, I kept him under watch. He refused the nutrient packs we offered, demanded real food, and complained about the recycled air. But as he recovered, he began to talk. A lot. About Earth, about wars, about something called coffee that he missed like it was oxygen. I'd never met anyone who could find humor in captivity, but he did. When I asked him why, he said, "Because if I stop laughing, I start breaking. And I've done enough of that for one lifetime." That answer stayed with me. The crew hated him. They said he was dangerous, that humans were extinct for a reason. But I couldn't shake the feeling there was something different about this one. He was clever, too clever. He learned the ship's systems by watching us work. He mimicked our speech patterns, memorized command codes he wasn't supposed to hear, and even figured out how to bypass the hololock on his cell door without tools. When I confronted him, he just grinned and said, "Old habits die hard." I should have reported him then, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the way he talked about home, about oceans and skies and freedom. Or maybe it was the way he looked at me like I was more than just another officer. Weeks turned into months, and our mission shifted deeper into uncharted space. The Tarkesh was tasked with surveying a derelict battlefield, remnants of an old war between two long-dead empires. The debris field was unstable, radioactive, and filled with ghost signals. When we arrived, sensors picked up something impossible. A human transmission, faint but unmistakable. Aaron went pale the moment he heard it. "That's a distress beacon," he said. "Old UN frequency. You have to let me help." I told him no. We were under orders to observe, not intervene. But he wouldn't listen. "If there's even one person out there, I can't just sit here." He snapped. "You think you know what survival means, Zethar? Try losing everything and still choosing to save someone else." He got under my skin that day. Against all reason, I decided to help him. I falsified the mission logs, released him from containment, and brought him to the navigation deck. Together, we traced the beacon to an abandoned warship, its hull scarred and leaking radiation. The signal was coming from deep inside, beyond the reactor core. My crew warned me that entering would mean death. Aaron just tightened the straps on his suit and said, "Then we'll make it quick." We entered the wreckage side by side. The silence inside was suffocating. Burned-out consoles, twisted metal, frozen corpses of soldiers who died centuries ago. But the beacon was still pulsing, steady, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. As we approached the source, we found it wasn't a person. It was a containment pod, similar to the one Aaron had been found in. Only this one contained something else. Inside the pod was an embryo. Human. Perfectly preserved. Aaron stared at it like he was looking at a ghost. "It's a sleeper pod," he whispered. "They must have tried to save a few before the end." His voice cracked. This could change everything. I didn't understand why it mattered so much, but I saw what it did to him. For the first time, he wasn't angry and he was hopeful. I wish I could have let him keep that hope, because not long after, the Tarkesh was attacked. A Vrelt raider fleet dropped out of warp, their ships surrounding us like vultures. They didn't care about the wreckage, they wanted the pod. They'd been tracking it for months, waiting for someone dumb enough to retrieve it. We barely made it back to the Tarkesh before the first volley hit. The ship shuddered under the impact. Aaron grabbed my arm, eyes wild. "You have to get that pod out of here," he yelled. "They'll destroy everything for it." I ordered the AI to prepare an escape shuttle, but before we could move the pod, another blast tore through the hull. The ship was dying. Crew members were screaming over comms, fire and smoke everywhere. I tried to drag Aaron to safety, but he pulled away. "Go," he shouted. "I'll hold them off." "You'll die," I told him. He smiled, and that same infuriating grin I'd come to know. "Yeah, but maybe this time it'll mean something." He ran toward the reactor bay while I escaped with the pod. I saw the explosion from orbit, a bright, impossible light that swallowed the Tarkesh whole. The Vrelt fleet disintegrated in the blast. He'd overloaded the reactor, sacrificing himself to destroy them. I remember watching it burn, hearing nothing but static in my headset and realizing I'd never know what he was thinking in those final seconds. So that's the situation I was in. I saved him and he saved us all. But in the end, I'm the one left carrying the weight of it. Before I tell you what happened after, I want you to tell me, what would you have done in my place? Would you have trusted him? Would you have let a human live? After the explosion, I drifted for days, barely conscious, clutching the pod like it was my own life. The Kalthian fleet eventually found me and brought me in for debriefing. They wanted to destroy the pod immediately, said humanity was a failed species, too dangerous to exist again. I couldn't let that happen, so I lied. I told them the pod was lost, destroyed in the blast. Then when they released me, I took it, I hid it. It's still hidden. Somewhere no scanner will ever find it. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing. Years have passed since that day, but I still dream about him. About the way he looked back before running into that reactor room. There was no fear, just determination. The kind my people can't comprehend. And maybe that's what made humans so dangerous. They didn't just survive. They chose to. Even when the universe took everything from them, they kept fighting. I know what the Kalthian High Council would say if they found out what I've done. They'd call it treason, a crime punishable by death. Maybe they're right. But when I think of Aaron, of that embryo still sleeping, waiting for a chance to live, I can't bring myself to regret it. Because for the first time in my life, I understand something no training program or doctrine ever taught me. Sometimes logic isn't enough. Sometimes the right choice is the one that terrifies you. So here I am, orbiting what's left of a world that once held billions, guarding a secret that could change everything. Maybe one day that child will wake up. Maybe they'll rebuild what was lost. Or maybe they'll look at the stars and decide we're not worth saving. I don't know. But I do know this: I knew a human once, and he showed me what it really means to be alive. If you were in my place, would you have done the same? Would you have saved him, even knowing what it might cost? Like this video if you believe I made the right choice. Subscribe for more stories like this. Tales from the edge of reason, where monsters become heroes and heroes become myths. And tell me in the comments what you think humanity deserves. Extinction or another chance. I'll see you all in the next story.